My name is Tommy Joyce. I'm the director of the East Bay Recovery Center. On behalf of the East Bay Prevention Coalition, I'd like to have a brief training today on overdose prevention, intervention, and rescue. From 2016 to 2019, 1 in 3 overdoses in Rhode Island happened in a public place. Unfortunately, there are fatalities, but we have seen some success. In 2018, 1,470 non-fatal overdoses happened, which means 1,470 people had a second chance, widely due to Naloxone, or better known as Narcan. I'm going to do a brief training today on how to recognize an overdose, what to do, how to take action, and how to rescue that person to give them a second chance. Naloxone is a medication that reverses the opioid overdose at the time. The best way I can describe it is, your brain has these opioid receptor sites. Opioids come in and they sit on the receptor sites. What happens is you introduce Naloxone or Narcan into the system, it bumps the opioid off the receptor site and sits on there for 90 minutes, reversing the overdose. Now, how to recognize an overdose. One of the telltale signs of recognizing an overdose is that person is unresponsive at the time. Also, you would notice that they have really cold, kind of clammy skin. Sometimes there's a blue-in, ashen type skin tone to their face or fingernails. And also they have a distinct snore that happens every couple of seconds. It's almost what they considered almost a death rattle snore. At that point in time, you would try to revive the person. What we suggest is something that's called a sternum rub or a chest noogie. Almost as if you were a kid and your older brother got you and kind of did the on your head. What you would do is the same thing as on the sternum. You would actually make your knuckles, you would go very hard on the sternum to try to make them responsive. If it's wintertime and they do have some kind of overcoat or some kind of thick material on them, what you can do is kind of go across the gum line and try to revive them that time. If at that point in time they are not revived or not responsive, you would automatically call 911. I always say when you call 911, you do put them on speakerphone, let them know it's a suspected opioid overdose and that you're going to be administering Naloxone. At that point in time, you would administer Naloxone. You would lie the person on their back and you would administer either the nasal spray or, if you have it, the intramuscular. I will do a demonstration on both. Probably the most popular Naloxone, which is called Narcan, is on the street today, which is a nasal. Almost looks like if you had Flonase, if you had allergies. What you do at that point in time, you would take the cap off, you would engage this into the nostril fully, depress the trigger to get the medication in, and then always safety first, you will take a step back. If you happen to have the intramuscular, again, it would involve a needle at this point in time and a small vial. You would uncap the syringe, you would draw back on the plunger a tiny bit. You would go into the valve, into the liquid. You would inject a little bit of air into the vial and draw back so all the liquid gets in. This is 0.4 milliliters in here. At that point in time, you would either go into the muscle behind the shoulder or the thighs. If it's wintertime and you can think, go to the thigh area due to the winter clothing being on the chest area and the shoulders, you're going to the thigh. Make sure you would get deep into the muscle, and again, you would just administer the Naloxone into the muscle, put the needle out, put it off to the side for safety, and again, you would take a step back. If at that point in time they revive and they become responsive, you would get them into what's called a recovery position. You would lean them over to one shoulder with one arm off to the side, so their mouth is on a sideways angle, and just in case they vomit or they have trouble breathing at that point in time. If at that point in time they're not responsive, there's 2 choices you could do. Really, the best way to reverse an opioid overdose is through oxygen. Opioids are a central nervous depressant, and what they do is they slow the signals down that the brain is giving for you to breathe. The best way to do it is to try to get oxygen into the lungs. So first would be rescue breathing. Rescue breathing is similar to CPR. You would lay the person down. Again, you would check the mouth to make sure there's nothing in there, as you would with CPR. If you have a face mask, it's preferable that you would put over the top, tilt the head back, pinch the nose, and you would engage 2 deep breaths to make sure you're engaging the chest area. Once you have gauged the chest area, you would do one breath every 5 to 6 seconds for 2 minutes. If you're uncomfortable doing rescue breathing, you could do chest compressions, same as CPR. With that, you would lock the hands, go to the center of the chest area, make sure your chin is above your chest, and you would press down, preferably 100 compressions a minute for 2 minutes. Now, chest compressions, there's 2 songs you could use. One could be Staying Alive, as in Saturday Night Fever, or if you have children, you're familiar with Baby Shark. It's another song that you could do and do Baby Shark, do, 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 do. If after 2 minutes they are not breathing on their own, you administer the second dose of naloxone. Again, administer, if you have the nasal, the second, or if intramuscular, there is 2 vials in each kit. After the second dose that you administer, you again take a step back. If they're still unresponsive, continue rescue breathing or chest compressions. Now, there's some questions that always comes up about naloxone. What happens if they're not in an opioid overdose and you administer the medication? To this date, there is no adverse effects or allergic reactions due to naloxone. If that person is not in an opioid overdose, there is nothing that will happen with them. It will just get processed through the body. You cannot give too many doses of naloxone. Right now, there's some different types of fentanyl that's on the street and some different other more potent opioids. So sometimes it takes multiple doses at that point in time. Now, after you administer naloxone, it lasts for 90 minutes. Please encourage the person. Let them know when they get revived that you just revived them from an opioid overdose, and please encourage them to go to the emergency room. The naloxone medication lasts for 90 minutes. After 90 minutes, when it wears off, that person can slip back into an opioid overdose. Now, where do you get naloxone? Naloxone is available at any Walgreens or CVS. Dr. Jody Rich from Brown University and the Rhode Island Department of Health has written a blanket prescription for everyone in the state of Rhode Island. If you're uncomfortable going to CVS, you can go to any of the local recovery centers. I work at East Bay Recovery Center. All hours of operation, you can come in, get a training just like this one, and get a free kit of either the nasal or the intramuscular kits. If you call the Bristol Police Department or call the East Bay Recovery Center, we will gladly deliver naloxone to your house anywhere in the East Bay. If you're outside of the East Bay, you can call the Hope Recovery Center or Anchor Recovery Community Centers, and they will deliver also. Now, what happens after you administer naloxone? Is there any criminal or civil charges that can come to you? The answer is no. In Rhode Island, we have a Good Samaritan law, and you are covered under any criminal or civil charges against you, similar as if you're given CPR or the Heimlich maneuver to somebody. So please, save a life. Carry naloxone. Thank you very much. Have a good day.